We're going to get started and dive in. So let's stop sharing that because I am joined today by a wonderful panel. We are still waiting on one of our panel who's having a few challenges with joining us. So at the moment, I'm going to introduce two of our panel. And what I'd like you to do when I introduce you, if you could briefly introduce yourself, your school, and first question for each of you today is, could you describe your current approach to maths fluency? Chris, maybe I can start with you. So Chris Lamming, I'll hand over to you.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm an assistant principal in Didcot Primary Academy, which is in South Oxfordshire. It's a two-form entry of about 450 pupils from nursery all the way up to year 6. Realistically, our approach to maths fluency is it's not just about speed. It is about accuracy, it's about efficiency. More than anything, it's about flexibility. I'm really thinking about the conceptual understanding of number and how that can be applied to a whole range of different situations. And we utilize a whole range of tools to kind of build that fluency in our school, Sumdog being one of them. So.
Wonderful, thank you. And Kelly, if I could hand over to you next.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I work at Tennyson Road Primary School in Luton. We are a 3 and 4 form entry school with just under 750 children, ranging from EYFS up to year 6. And we take fluency very seriously. We've noticed that a lot of our children, when they come to our school, have many foundational gaps, which I'm sure a lot of you have the same. And we try and embed fluency in our maths curriculum, not just, well, in every single lesson. So we take a fluency key sense at the beginning of every lesson, and then reasoning and problem solving will follow on from that. But we also really target fluency at the beginning of every single maths lesson before they even start the main teach, just so that they can continuously practice the number facts and get that automaticity for their maths knowledge, so that they can continue to use that foundational knowledge throughout the rest of the lesson, but then throughout the rest of the week as well.
Wonderful, thank you, Kelly. Just going to keep admitting people as they come in. So fantastic. So right now, this is our panel. We might be joined by Jo as we go through this. We'll see if we can get her logged in and accessing. Fantastic. So Kelly, you talked there about really why maths fluency has become a priority in your school. Chris, if I can just jump on what you were saying there. Kelly talked about some of the things which they're doing in terms of practice day to day. What does that look like in your school?
So quite often they'll have a morning task as they come in, which will be something to do with fluency. We are a white rose aligned school in from reception all the way up to year 6. So at the beginning of every lesson, we've got what's called a flashback, which will link to skills that have been in previous lessons, previous units, or previous years. Throughout the lesson, it's a constant talk about strategies as well. So instead of just how you got to that answer, it's how could you get there a different way? What skills did you use to get there? And then we are quite lucky for year 3 all the way up to year 6. We have got one-to-one correspondence for our devices. So pretty much every child from year 3 to year 6 has got their own Chromebook that they can use. So when it comes to things like lunchtimes, or we also have kind of a club Friday, they have the option to be able to go on to different fluency programs to kind of build up that kind of quick recall and automaticity that we are looking for.
Fantastic. That's amazing. And Kelly, if I can come to you, do you I don't know your setup. Do you have one-to-one devices as well? Is that the same setup for you?
No, we're not that lucky. We have, I think we've got 60, because we're a split site school. We've got 60 laptops down at our north site, and then we've got 30 laptops up at our south site, but they're shared across all year groups on a rota. So I wish we had that amount of devices. That would be absolutely brilliant. But the children have gotten used to sharing that on a rota. Their teachers are really good at actually sharing them out as well. And actually, we do use the devices to access things like Sumdog and things like TT Rockstars as well to really develop the fluency. And that is actually not just as a challenge, but I feel like I am plugging Sumdog now, but we use Sumdog a lot to fill a lot of the gaps, because you can actually set it up so it aligns with White Rose, because we also do White Rose. And you can set the questions so that they align with what they're teaching that day. So if you've noticed that the children have got gaps in certain areas, especially in fluency, you can get those children targeted within the lesson so that then they're able to access at some point in the lesson the rest of the work.
Wonderful. And is there anything, I threw an additional question there to you about devices, is there anything else which we haven't covered in terms of your practical day-to-day, like what that looks like in your school?
So we, like I said, we do White Rose, and within every White Rose lesson, because it's a mastery style approach, they do fluency, reasoning, problem solving in every single lesson. But we also do something called Fluent in 5, which is another scheme that's used. But that just makes sure that they're accessing that, it's basic number facts every single day and just getting that practice constantly. But we also ensure that every single class is using things like manipulatives, so that they've got that the practical resources with them. So not just for the children who are low accessors, but for the children who are greater depth, so that they can actually show their knowledge and show that they've got a deeper understanding. I think there will be loads more that pops into my head as we go.
Fantastic, great, thanks, Kelly. And Chris, if I can jump back to you. So Kelly talked there about some of the kind of wider use of this setup, but for you at the moment, what role does fluency play in that wider maths teaching approach? And to Kelly's point, how do you ensure it complements reasoning, problem solving, these sorts of areas?
I mean, for us, fluency is the kind of foundation of our maths approach. You need to be fluent in order to really access the problem solving and reasoning. Every time we are looking at our assessments and our data, those children who aren't fluent enough when it, realistically shown in the arithmetic test, therefore are quite significantly behind in the problem solving and reasoning. So we focus on it quite a lot, and we have noticed actually that I'm also English lead in our school, but actually when we changed our approach to our reading as well, their problem solving and reasoning went up because of their understanding of kind of the wider context of the questions and the vocabulary associated with it. But in regards to fluency, if they're not fluent, they're not really going to be able to problem solve and reason. But too much of the working memory is going to be focused on how that they can use their strategies instead of how you can apply it to a wider context. So it's really important that we nail it as soon as possible. And we've actually had parent workshops. We're trialing a new approach actually with parents coming in to play kind of number games with their children. And we've provided some resources for the parents to take home for our kind of year 1 and year 2 to be playing with them. So we've seen a good benefit in that sense as well.
Absolutely. And with that parental engagement, how it sounds like that's really important to this process. Yeah, is any other thoughts or comments on that parental side, and what kind of led you to decide to do that and bring parents into that process?
We don't, as a school, set homework. So Sumdog is quite a useful tool because children want to play it both within school and outside of school. But we only have the children on site for 6 and a bit hours a day. So in terms of how much time you've actually got with them, and if you've only got an hour maths lesson a day, it's not as much time as we need to really develop their skills. So we need to get everyone with the same buy-in, and it really helps if you're all singing from the same hymn sheet. So by bringing those parents in, by getting them to really understand the thinking behind what we're doing, and for them to have the same language that we're using, it's kind of, we are starting to see, it's only been running for a few weeks, but we are starting to see more of a benefit from that straight away.
Fantastic, that's great. And Kelly, interested coming to you, like where have you noticed anything similar? Like, I guess my other question is, like, do you set homework? I'm looking at my own kids' school here, and they always moan about their homework. So yeah, Kelly, what's your setup at the moment around that?
We do set homework, but it's more of it's an expectation if the children want to do it, they can do it. We don't really police it. We don't really monitor it as such. And we do use Sumdog as a homework tool, and setting the competitions on there as a bit more of an encouragement as well, because a lot of the children are motivated to do their homework by themselves, but having that extra element of competition that they're up against the rest of the children in the school, they really like that. And because we're split site, they like to compete against each other as well. But with parental engagement, we have also started doing things like parental workshops, and they do really work. We've had the parents come in and sit down with the children in Key Stage 1 as well, and EYFS, just so the children and the parents can engage. The parents are, like Chris said, hearing that same vocabulary that we're using throughout the maths lessons, seeing the resources that we're using in the maths lessons. So then they're echoing that when they're going home, and using that same vocabulary, which I've noticed a massive difference as well.
Absolutely. No, and that's really brilliant to hear, because it's something we at Sumdog hear all the time, is around that kind of maths anxiety starting at home. Like that's the and the I did a training session with a group of people who go and talk to schools yesterday. They're not kind of teachers, they're not in school, and that was the thing which really resonated, like a fear of maths. And that comes to me, that comes back to that fluency. Like, how easy is it to how readily can you get those mental maths, how quickly can you get that working? So that's really great to hear those two things. And I guess maybe moving on to some of the impact side of that, Kelly, I'll start with you. You've had kind of measurable impact with your fluency work. Could you talk about how you track that progress? What signs of success look like for you?
Yeah. So historically, the children that come to our school start at a very low point. And then as they move up throughout the years, they're making so much progress that by the end of our Key Stage 2 results are fantastic. And we're very proud of that, and we're very proud of them. But obviously, that those foundational gaps that they've had from the start, when they enter with us in EYFS, trying to fill them in as they go. Sorry, I've lost absolute flow. What was your question again?
So we're talking about that kind of measurable impact. What does success look like? That was it.
Yeah. So obviously our Key Stage 2 results are absolutely fantastic. But also we have been doing a lot of pupil voice over the past couple of years, because I've also joined the DFE Maths Hubs. Ours is called Enigma Hub in the local Luton area. And a lot of that is to do with how we can measure impact, but not just through summative assessment. And we have been doing a lot of pupil voice recently. And I would say 2 years ago, before we really got going with mastery and really started to embed the fluency, problem solving and reasoning, the amount of responses from the children that were negative was quite large, saying that they don't like maths, they have quite a lot of anxiety when it comes to maths. A lot of that they've inherited from their parents. We did parental surveys. The parents said the same thing. So they're hearing that negative talk around maths when they go home and they're struggling with it. But then as we've gone through the years, we kept up these parental and pupil surveys. And now the difference in the responses is so much more positive. And yeah, it's really encouraging that even those same children from 2 years ago are now saying that they love maths. That they're really enthusiastic about it, that things like the resources that they had no idea that it was for them, they thought it was for just the younger years and things like that. It's just really positive. Yeah,
that's fantastic. And it's lovely to see that kind of cultural change over time, because it does inevitably, with any change like that, it does take time. These things are quite embedded, and embedded across society. So it's really lovely to be able to see that over time.
Yeah,
fantastic. Chris, can I turn to you at this point with a very similar question around, like, what does that success look like for you? What impact have we seen of fluency within your school?
It's quite I mean, we track it in different ways. I mean, for teachers, we've got different diagnostic tools. Sumdog is very good at the diagnostic, I must say, because we utilize it both for its fluency, which kind of you let Sumdog just work on the fluency skills for the children. It's kind of self-led and adapting to them. That has been really useful, but you can still kind of drop in and out of the reports and see where they're struggling and maybe add in some extra ones as well. But because Sumdog has been White Rose aligned, we've been using it as part of kind of maths challenges or extension opportunities for the children. And then you start to see who is struggling, who isn't, very, very quickly without needing to put in lots of extra kind of teacher time to really kind of drill down on very, very specific strands, which has been really useful. I would say another impact that I've just seen is engagement more than anything else, because we are very lucky that our children are able to have the Chromebooks at lunchtime. It's kind of a hangover from COVID that we now do our lunchtimes in our classrooms. So it gives them, although we try and have kind of screen-free days, it still gives them the ability to do it. We've had just some metrics that we had, but over the past couple of years, we've had an additional 2 million questions answered from year 2 up to year 6 on Sumdog, which is extra time and extra learning they wouldn't have done without it.
Yeah.
So from an actual practice perspective, that's been really, really useful. And I've got certain children in my class who, like a moth to a flame, will love a Chromebook or trying to use it at any point, but the thing that they keep on trying to get onto is Sumdog. So when you see that measurable impact, it's the fact that they want to be on it more than any other program that we use. This is the one that they keep on trying to get onto. So yeah.
And it's really lovely to hear. I always get very excited when we get those. Okay, like how many questions have been answered this week? How many extra questions? Because that it's great when it's a nice big number, because that sounds really exciting. But it's when you drill down into the actual difference that is then making. And and look, we know engagement is a huge challenge, and it is something we're really proud of within Sumdog, about how engaged kids are to actually want to go and do that. I guess, Chris, if I can follow up with you on that, is there anything else around that engagement? How do you keep, beyond what we've talked about with Sumdog, is there anything else which you do to keep that fluency practice engaging, meaningful for pupils? I'm thinking particularly for those children who might have that maths anxiety, find things more challenging.
I mean, as part of Sumdog's diagnostics, it's able to be used for LSAs, our teaching assistants, as well. So with those kind of strands that they are focusing on, whether it be kind of the White Rose units or the foundational number skills that, it's being associated with Fluency Booster, they're able to go off with a quick report and focus on doing that. But we want maths to be fun. So when they take them off for an intervention, it's not, right, let's drill down and let's do these skills again and again and again. We want it to actually be games. We want them to be applying these skills in real life. So we've worked on kind of creating a wealth of resources that, if they're struggling with their number bonds to 20, these are the types of games to play with the children, and they go out for 5-10 minutes, they have a go at it, and then they come back in and carry on. So it's worked from a wider perspective, really helping our LSAs kind of have that impact as well.
Fantastic. And Kelly, can I ask you the same question, kind of beyond, obviously Sumdog is wonderful and engaging and all of those kind of things. Is there anything else which you're doing in school to really help boost that and make sure that everybody is engaged and maths is fun? Like that's our key message.
Yeah, so we do try and make them as practical as possible. So utilising any kind of resource that we have in the classroom. We also try and get out of the classroom quite a lot. So especially for things like the statistic lessons or the geometry lessons, when it doesn't necessarily have to be in there, just getting them out into the open space that's not confined into the classroom, which they always love. Even in embedding it into other lessons like PE and things like that, and music, so that they're seeing maths everywhere, not just within the maths classroom, so that they can see that even if they think that they hate maths as the traditional sense, that it's not just in the classroom, it is everywhere. Another thing that we do, which works ridiculously well, is Tiny from White Rose. the little teddy bear. I wish I had him, but he's currently in someone's classroom. He is always wrong. Tiny gets everything wrong. If you teach White Rose, you know that. And the kids love that. They love that he's wrong and that they can fix his mistakes. So Tiny gets to go and visit classrooms and sit with children. And for some of those reluctant learners, having Tiny there with them, they just absolutely love it. Even up to year 6, they love having Tiny with them. And that is something really small and really impactful.
I love that. And it does make me think. We were discussing, just for the whole group, before we came in here, we were discussing at the end of Sumdog contests. If you're a winner of a Sumdog contest, quite often you'll get a visit from Sumdog, and that is normally someone. It's quite often me in a big Sumdog costume. We shouldn't have worried about that. Let's just get a little tiny one, and that will have the same impact. So it's really nice. Really loved it, and it is that. We see it all the time within Sumdog. It's people. It's taking away that anxiety by giving that bigger context, and it's really lovely to see. Kelly, if I stick with you, are there any? One of the things which we always try and get within Sumdog is like real life specific examples of where we see fluency making a real difference in class or with a particular student. Is there anything like that which you think is worth highlighting?
Well, as you said that, a year 6 child has just popped into my head. This was before SATs, so before all of that craziness. We were sitting doing a mean lesson, so I'm calculating the average, and she does not like to get things wrong. This particular child likes to be right, don't we all? But then she did make a mistake, and in September, her making that mistake would have been a meltdown. It would have been the end of the world. Her book would have been ripped up. Really took mistakes to heart. But she got that question wrong, and because we've worked so hard on the fluency side of things, all I had to do was point at the book and just point to where her mistake was. And I was like, are you sure about this? She looked at me and I was like, this could either go one of 2 ways. She's either going to rip something up and leave, or she's going to try. But she was like, oh, literally slapped herself on the head, saw her mistake and was able to work through that. And just that change in her, having that foundational knowledge there, and has built up all of her skills throughout the year from, well, not just from September, from reception. That's made such a difference to her. And she is now so much more able to stay in the classroom. Like, she's smashed her SATs and did really well. So very proud of her.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's lovely to hear. And it is those it's those kind of examples which we really want to cling to. That's fantastic. Chris, can I ask you the same question? Any kind of specific examples of where this has really impacted an individual or a class?
Yeah, I mean, it's you see it impacting on lots of different individuals and lots of different classes. I think there's a child in my class, and funnily enough, I taught her sister a few years before, who absolutely detested maths. So this child already came in with a preconceived notion of how much she hated maths, and I know had struggled in previous years. And initially she wasn't really engaging. She'd do the work if you made her. You had to be sat with her quite a lot. But then as her fluency started to improve, you started to see kind of some green shoots of, maybe this isn't so bad. And we did, getting their reports ready for the end of year, we asked the children to kind of do a pupil survey about themselves, what they really enjoyed, etc. And it quite surprised me that now maths is her favorite lesson. And actually within class, she is putting her hand up, she's volunteering work, and you just see that more for her than anything else, when she's getting those tests back, that she's getting the right answers on, or just in class where she's getting the gratification of, I actually offered that in front of people, I wasn't scared to get it wrong, but it was right. It's been really lovely to see, and I think that's come from our real focus on those kind of foundational skills more than anything else.
Absolutely. And it is it's really heartwarming to kind of to hear those things. And again, we talk about this, what that fluency, that approach to maths can bring, and it is about that shift in people's heads as much as a kind of cultural shift. It's really getting people to buy in that this can be fun, this can be their favorite. It's really exciting. Chris, if I stay with you, so the people on this school are likely to be of a similar mind, in that, like, actually they do think maths is fun and exciting and are looking for tips around that. That's probably not true of all staff, because staff you get people from all over the place in the same way we get parents, we get all of these, everybody comes with their own set of biases and opinions coming in. So given that not all staff are in the same position as you, how have you supported your staff in delivering that kind of fluency focused teaching? Also, if you could talk about any kind of CPD collaborative work, what's kind of most helpful in making this work across a school?
More than anything with staff, you need a buy-in, and they need to know why you're doing it and whether it's going to work. So quite often, before we kind of roll anything out, we've piloted it in 1 or 2 classes. So you can then give them some very clear impact, because as lovely as Sumdog is, it's got lots of glossy promotional materials, but staff will kind of look past that. And they will believe you a lot more if you've said, yeah, well, actually, look at this class, they've gone from here to here just by using those kind of things. So our approach is really kind of grounding it in evidence as much as possible. CPD wise, I am known as the Sumdog enthusiast in our school, which, you know, is lovely to be, but it's an open door policy that I say, right, I've tried this, why don't you have a go at this? Or we will have different staff meetings where we will talk about good practice that we've used. Our maths coordinator is very proactive. She's part of one of the kind of local hubs as well, and comes back with other things, which has been really good. And our focus this year has been on oracy. So it's how we've been able to drive oracy across the school, but specifically for different subjects as well. So oracy and maths, we've actually had embedded for quite a while from a problem solving perspective, in terms of, oh, I challenge this, or can I build on this? But it's been seeing how we can take it further, but linking it back to the maths skills they've got. So we've done quite a lot of training around that as well. So that's been really, really effective.
Fantastic. And Kelly, if I can ask you the same question about that staff buy-in. I'm thinking particularly staff buy-in across 2 sites. Tell me about what that looks like for your school.
I think what we have learnt as we've become such a big school is that to just implement things one at a time, make sure that things are embedded before we move on to the next step. And if I could recommend CPD as a whole, it would be joining one of the local maths hubs, because I am part of that, and I also go with another member of staff who is, before I became deputy head, I was Key Stage 2 based, and he's Key Stage 1 based. So we've got that almost across all the key stages minus reception. But really recommend joining one of those maths hubs, because the amount of CPD myself that I've had with over 13 years of experience teaching, but for someone who's an ECT doing that as well, so that we can both feedback from such different perspectives, that the staff are hearing it from different types of perspectives from different key stages, and that we're able to embed that more deeply because we're having it from that different kind of point of view. And I don't know if anybody has heard of a Pong, but there's something that we've learned about in our local maths hub, which is a type of it basically shows variation in a lesson. And now our staff used to hate me if I said the word Pong to them, but that is something that we've embedded really, really well now. And it just shows a level of a deep understanding within the children. And now they love a Pong, and they will laugh along with that word. It might not make any sense to you, but if you Google Pong to do with maths hubs, try it.
I was going to ask the question. Okay, I'm not just going to Google Pong and see what comes up, but with maths hubs, that makes absolute sense. Fantastic. So look, we talked about where this can succeed, what this looks like in the classroom, getting that buy-in from the rest of staff. We're kind of moving on to reflections, advice we can give to this group of people, and there will be people on our call today will be at different stages of that journey towards fluency. I'm always interested, and anyone who works with me will know that I'm always interested in like what can go wrong here, what are the pitfalls. So is there anything which if people are early in that kind of journey towards where you are at the moment, are there any pitfalls, but also are there any kind of quick wins? Is there things which people can do really quickly tomorrow and it's going to make a difference?
Who was that for? Sorry.
For you, Kelly. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would, again, like I said just before, just taking things one step at a time, really embed the thing that you're trying to embed first, whether that's joining a mastery program or whether that's trying something like Sumdog to really embed the fluency. Quick wins, using resources that are already there, just using the things that are there, so you're not reinventing the wheel. There are so many good things out there, like White Rose, like Sumdog, Third Space Learning. The NCETM website has masses of things on there that nobody needs to then go out and spend more of their very precious time building all of these resources, and just utilizing the things that are there. I think that would be a massive quick win, to be fair.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kelly. Chris, can I ask you the same questions? Question: pitfalls, quick wins.
I would say a pitfall would be not knowing what you're looking for. So defining fluency, you really need to know and get everyone to have the same kind of idea that fluency is more than just being able to come up with a number fact very quickly. It's about being able to be flexible with it. It's about being able to apply it in different situations. And it's also about, the efficiency of strategies and those kind of things that will really help. So for me, I think a quick win would be, like Kelly said, using resources that are already there. But if you're looking to start developing fluency, it's thinking, well, how can what do the children already know? Where do I need to start working? So, if you ignore, Sumdog's very good with its diagnostic. So if it gives you all this data, then just ignoring it, actually, that is a big pitfall, because you're looking to build, and if your foundations are shaky, as with any subject, then there's always going to be issues. So it's utilizing what you've got at your fingertips. And if all these lovely people, I'm sure, have kind of wanted to use Sumdog or have signed up to Sumdog, it is brilliant for that kind of diagnostic tool to give you a very quick win to give you a start on your journey. And then it's mapping it from there, really. It's also not focusing on the fact that it's just speed. We've got some fantastic children who do times table rock stars. I mean, I'm one of the year 4 teachers at the moment, so multiplication check up to my eyeballs and lots of times tables every single day. And then as soon as the multiplication check's done, it's like, right, what's next? And it's actually, no. That was now to get us on to, the year 5 and 6 curriculum is pretty much just multiplication. So it's giving the children, the same with the staff, the buy-in. It's giving the children the buy-in of, why do we need this fluency? What is it useful for? If they understand that, they're going to be more engaged with it as well.
Absolutely. No, I love that. It's something, we talk about all the time, is that we start everything with why. Why are we doing this? What is the purpose for doing this? We'll figure out like how we do it and all of those things, but what is our why? That's so important. I love that. Brilliant. I am just going to say we're coming towards the end of our session today. We've not been joined by our third colleague, so that's where we're at. But I want to say a kind of huge thank you to Kelly, to Chris. We do have a few minutes left, so if anybody does have any particular questions, anything like that, please do put them in the chat. The chat is available. If anybody's got some questions, we'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Also, I know we do have a mix of people on this call today, so we have people who have been using Sumdog for 10 years, people who don't. I'm going to put a QR code up in a second, which if you are not a current user of Sumdog and you want to find out a bit more about what we do and how we help schools, you can scan that QR code and we can get in contact with you. However, if you're an existing user, you'll have an account manager who you can speak to about anything we've talked about today. But whilst I'm leaving that chat open, and I will share my screen in 2 seconds, I'm going to go with my final question to both of you today. And Chris, you're on my screen at the moment, so I'm going to start with you. If you had to sum up your school's fluency philosophy in one sentence, what would it be?
Well, I wrote this one down.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's reading it back through, there is quite a lot of big words, but pretty much it's about confidence. It's about flexibility, and it's engagement and consistent practice. Fluency, it can't just be you pick it up, you put it down, you pick it up, you put it down. You need to be doing it all the time. It's like a musical instrument. It's better to do 5 minutes of practice every day than 30 minutes just before your lesson and realize how you've forgotten everything. So I would say, it needs to be consistent, and it's about that flexibility, that adaptability to every situation. That's our approach to fluency.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. And Kelly, if I could come to you. Same
well,
question.
I've written down consistency is key, and it's okay to fail. I think that's one of the things that we really try and push, that it's learn from the mistakes. The mistakes are where the learning comes from.
That's wonderful. That's brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Chris. I am just going to share my QR code because otherwise I will forget to do that. Okay, wonderful. We will wrap up there. We've couple of questions and things came through the chat, but most of those are just saying thank you, and I'm just going to reiterate that thanks. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Chris. Fantastic. So many learnings from this, and I've taken away a load of stuff. I'm sure all of our delegates on the call will have done as well. So in terms of follow-up, you are all going to get a recording of this session. All of that will be sent through to you. Do scan that QR code and get in contact with us if you'd like to have more of a conversation, or reach out to your Sumdog account manager if you have one, and we can have those conversations. I'm going to wrap this up by saying my final thank you to both of you. It has been fantastic. Really appreciate all of your time, and everybody on this call, have a really lovely rest of the day, rest of the term, however long that is. It's going to be different whether we've got people. I'm thinking most of our delegates today were either in Scotland or in England, and you've got very different summers. So some of you have got a long way to go. Some of you are nearly there, but enjoy the rest of the term. Let's keep moving forward and making maths fun. Really appreciate all your time. Thank you, everybody, and we'll speak soon. Bye.